migration. What steps is the Minister taking to ensure that we protect the rights and dignity of everyone?
Yet we're sitting on all this natural gas and we're not fracking. He's also right about mass migration.
In the past year, the UK has undergone a period of rapid transition, and many people across the political spectrum have expressed uncertainty about the direction of the country. While some welcome the new government's emphasis on reform and long-term planning, others feel that the pace of change has been overwhelming. Concerns about public safety, migration capacity, policing consistency, economic pressure, and cultural cohesion have all entered the national conversation with unusual intensity. Whether these issues stem from long-standing structural challenges or the result of the new administration's approach is still debated, but what can't be denied is that the public mood has shifted. Headlines, personal stories, community concerns, and growing frustration have created a sense that the UK is confronting deeper tensions that cannot be ignored. This analysis is not about making accusations or amplifying fear. It is an attempt to understand why so many people feel unsettled, what may be driving that sentiment, and how the country might move forward with clarity rather than confusion. Public order concerns and the strain on community confidence. The first issue that has dominated public discussion is the belief that public order feels more fragile than it has in several years. While official data does not support claims of unprecedented breakdown, there is a widely shared perception that disorder, antisocial behavior, and strained emergency services have become more visible in everyday life. Many cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, Cardiff, Glasgow, have reported pressure on policing resources, higher call volumes, and difficulty responding quickly to lower priority incidents. Officers themselves have spoken publicly about the challenges of staff shortages, burnout, and increased complexity of cases. Community members describe feeling less comfortable in busy town centers at night, and local councils have warned that maintaining adequate safety measures requires more resources than they currently have. These concerns do not mean that Britain is in chaos. Rather, they reflect a disconnect between the rising expectations placed on local authorities and the limited capacity available to meet them. Public anxiety grows when people sense that frontline services are stretched, and restoring confidence may require stronger communication, community engagement, and clearer safety strategies that reassure the public without exaggerating the scale of the problem. Migration pressures and the challenge of national capacity. Migration remains one of the most emotionally charged topics in British politics, and it is an area where public expectations and government systems often collide. While migration brings economic benefits, skills, and cultural richness, the practical challenges of accommodation, processing, integration, and local service capacity have become more evident. Some communities have seen hotels temporarily repurposed for asylum applicants. Local services have reported strain, and councils continue to request more support in managing unexpected population increases. This is not evidence of deliberate negligence, but of a system that has been under pressure for many years, long before the current administration. Border Force staff, local councils, and NGOs have all emphasized that the pace of change and the unpredictability of global movement makes it difficult to plan effectively. The public frustration stems from the feeling that there is no clear long-term strategy that balances humanitarian responsibility with national capacity. Many people simply want reassurance that the system is fair, functional, and sustainable. Addressing these concerns requires honesty about operational limitations, stronger international cooperation, and consistent communication that explains decisions without dismissing the public's legitimate questions. Policing fairness and the perception of uneven enforcement. Another topic that has surfaced repeatedly is the fear that policing is becoming inconsistent or overly cautious in certain situations. While police forces reject the idea of having different rules for different groups, public perception is shaped by isolated incidents that quickly spread online. When videos show officers stepping back from large demonstrations or struggling to manage disruptive protests, some audiences interpret this as reluctance to enforce the law. At the same time, small groups of local protesters, drivers, or residents may feel they are handled more decisively for lesser disruptions. These impressions, whether fully accurate or not, fuel the belief that enforcement is uneven. Frontline officers often say they are navigating complex operational guidelines, balancing public safety with the legal obligation to protect peaceful protest and preventing escalation where possible. Many also say they feel caught between public expectations and political scrutiny. This issue is ultimately about trust. People want to believe that the law is applied consistently, regardless of the politics, background, or message of those involved. Clearer communication from police leadership, more transparency about decision-making processes, and a renewed emphasis on impartiality could help rebuild that trust and reassure communities that fairness remains the foundation of British policing. Economic pressure and the everyday reality for households. More than any political speech or statistical debate, the economy is what most directly affects the daily lives of ordinary people, and the past year has been financially difficult for many. Rising living costs, higher energy bills, and tighter household budgets have left people feeling that economic relief is always promised, but rarely felt. Small businesses in particular have struggled with increased overheads, uncertain consumer spending, and supply chain disruptions left over from previous years. Many owners say they are operating on razor-thin margins and worry about long-term sustainability. Families, too, have expressed frustration that wages are not keeping pace with essential costs, and some feel that the government's long-term economic plans do not provide immediate help. While global inflation, geopolitical disruptions, and long-standing structural issues all play a major role, the public rarely distinguishes between global forces and domestic policy. They simply feel the impact. What fuels resentment is the sense that the hardship is one-sided, that ordinary households must tighten their belts while large institutions appear insulated from the same pressures. If the government hopes to rebuild confidence, it must demonstrate that it understands the day-to-day realities people face and provide targeted support that feels meaningful rather than theoretical. A quiet cultural shift and the feeling of losing familiar ground. Alongside the more visible issues of crime, migration, and economics, there is a quieter conversation unfolding in homes, community groups, and workplaces. The sense that British culture feels different, less unified, and sometimes uncertain about its own identity. This is not about hostility toward newcomers or resistance to progress. It is about people feeling that established traditions, community values, and social norms are changing faster than they can process. Some express discomfort that long-standing local customs are being adjusted or softened to avoid controversy. Others worry that open conversations about identity or values now feel tense, as if the boundaries of what can be said have narrowed. Parents often voice concerns about the rapid evolution of educational content and the feeling that major cultural shifts are happening without broad public discussion. These feelings are subjective, but they are real and they matter. Cultural cohesion depends on shared understanding, mutual respect, and the belief that change is guided by open democratic conversation, not sudden adjustments. The task for any government is not to resist cultural change, but to help society navigate it in a way that feels inclusive rather than disorienting. Conclusion: Britain at a moment of reflection, not rupture. After considering these 5 areas: public order, migration pressures, policing consistency, economic strain, and cultural change, one truth emerges. Britain is not collapsing, but it is unsettled. The sense of uncertainty is not the product of a single policy or a single leader. It is the cumulative weight of years of economic challenges, global instability, overstretched services, and rapid social change. People across the country, regardless of political affiliation, want clarity, stability, and reassurance that their concerns are being heard. They want a government that communicates honestly, responds decisively, and acknowledges the pressures communities face. Whether the current administration can deliver that remains to be seen, but ignoring public sentiment would be a mistake. The UK stands at a crossroads, not one of crisis, but of choice. If the nation confronts these issues with openness and unity, it can emerge stronger. If it avoids the conversation, uncertainty will only grow. The coming years will test not only the government's vision, but the country's ability to navigate change together.